everybody, I'm Lori Pinhorn, social worker and holistic nutritionist, and I am here today to talk to you about cravings. Big scary word, cravings. So, what do people do when they experience cravings? Most of the time, it's been my experience that people have not been given great strategies in order to deal with cravings. So, if you've been watching my videos and following me or know my work, one of the first things I always say is, first of all, are you biologically setting yourself up to have cravings? So are you skipping out on your breakfast? Are you stretching out your food for too long of a time? And things like that, because we can biologically set us up for cravings. And then we overeat and we feel bad about ourselves, when the reality is, when biology drives the bus from a low blood sugar perspective, then we are setting ourselves up for cravings. But what I want to talk about today is something totally different. Let's just say that your nutrition is knock it out of the park. When you send me your food journals, like a lot of people do, I can say, yep, breakfast was great. Yep, 10:30 snack was great. Lunch was amazing. And but what happened at 3:30? It was like, oh my gosh. It's like Craving City happened. And, even though you had your great snack packed for yourself, you actually ended up, what happened used to happen to me when I used to go to the office every day. You ended up in your coworker's office eating a bag of chips or, I don't know, candies and things like that. So what I would say to you is that if you're having a really strong craving, and sometimes I might even say to people, well, on a scale of 0 to 10, how big was that craving? One of the things to do, and we know this from the addictions world, is that cravings actually they're like a wave. They kind of roll in, they have a low point, and then they build, and then they build and build and build, and they have a crest. They peter off, and then they go away, and they kind of fly out again. Most of us don't understand that about a craving. We feel like they slide in, they get big, 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 and the only way that the craving is going to go away is if you eat something. Well, what I want you to know is that you can ride out those waves of your cravings. You don't have to eat. And so what you do need to do is maybe get a drink of water, settle in, and just experiment with the craving having a beginning, a middle, and an end, because there's even a formula, a mathematical formula. Most cravings, whether they are food-based, nicotine-based, craving-based, only take, I don't know, the research on the numbers change all the time, but it doesn't even last for most of the time 15 minutes. So you can get through anything for 15 minutes, right? But it takes practice. So when you start to use your strategies for getting through cravings, you might not be successful at the beginning of it. But what I would say to you is that doesn't have anything to do with your capacity to ride out the waves of cravings. What it means is that you just need to practice them more. So what do you do when you feel a craving starting to come? Well, first of all, you have to get really self-aware that that's what's happening. And then you need to be able to start practicing things like distracting yourself. So maybe you'll do something that's totally opposite of eating. Maybe you put on some shoes, go out for a little walk if you can do that. Or maybe you might pick up your knitting. Or the human brain is really easy to trick. You sort of can't do two things very good at the same time. So when you're having a really strong craving, if you're doing something that's totally opposite of the craving, you can kind of weigh that out a little bit. The other thing to do is maybe you do need a little something to eat, but not what you're really craving, like the sugar and the pop and all that stuff. Like have an apple, or have a little bit of Greek yogurt with some fat and some protein and all that stuff in there, or peanut butter with an apple with some peanut butter on it or something. You biologically might need something to eat, but this will all come with the practice of it. And so rotting out cravings is a great skill for people to learn how to do. And if and when you start practicing it, you'll notice, like, I had this thing built up to be something bigger and scarier than I thought it was going to be. So check mark for cravings is, biologically, am I setting myself up for them? And then if you're not, then you got to practice kind of waiting them out. Next step after that, after you've had the craving, is to try to figure out, well, there was probably an emotional trigger that happened somewhere in your day that caused that craving. So this is where your food journals get really, really interesting. So when people tend to have strong cravings, what I say to people is, okay, let's process the day. Or what was it that happened possibly right before you had that craving? Did you have a disagreement with your partner? Did you find out some stressful news? Did you get a phone call from your friend and she, I don't know, needed something really big from you and it sort of sucked your energy source for a bit? Or, regular daily life stressors or whatever, because that's the real work happens when you can figure out, well, what are the triggers for the cravings? And we all have them. So I hope you enjoyed the message for today. Don't get freaked out if you're having cravings. Just use them as an experiment for what actually works for you. Now, there's a lot more information about cravings. When I talk with people about cravings, we sometimes talk about them for an hour or more to just try to figure out how the whole process of weighing them out is. But it's not impossible work. Some people actually believe cravings are impossible. And if you have a belief that a craving is impossible to get through without eating, then you are going to eat because we have cravings all the time. So I hope you enjoyed the message for today. Hop over on the Facebook page or on my webpage and let's get connected. And I will see you next week. Bye.